Joel,
Yes, Ray.
that's not enough money.
What's not enough money?
We're talking about regular cleaning versus restorative cleaning. You just told me this story, and I was ready to puke after you finished then. I can't wait to share it with our listeners.
Oh, this will be fun. It's interesting because when you go into a potential new client, they're looking at only what is the daily cost going to be, whether it's 1 day a week, 1 day a month, 5 days a week, whatever it happens to be. And they want to know, what price are you going to perform cleaning for on a daily basis or a monthly basis? And I try to tell them on walkthroughs of all the other services that we perform, and they're all, oh, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it. And usually when you're taking over business for another vendor, there's usually a reason why they're looking.
Yeah.
Because things aren't up to snuff. So we've talked about getting an impact clean before on another podcast. And not all clients want to pay for that impact clean, and that's fine. And you tell them that, okay, well, the daily cleaning is not necessarily going to fix all the problems. I know we can make it look better, but it's only going to be looking better for a short time. Because eventually everything needs a different level of service. So there's some things that are called an interim service, and then there's restorative services.
Okay.
So think about it in a simplistic way in your home. You might do a spring clean and a fall clean, which means washing walls, washing windows, shampooing the carpets, all that type of work. Well, that's the same in a commercial building. There's different things that you need to do to different surfaces. If you have carpets, maybe you need an interim method, which might be using a low moisture system. There's several out there, dry powders, there's bonnet cleaning, cylindrical brush machines. So there's several different kind of systems that are out there. And that's kind of making the carpets look refreshed without spending a ton of money on actually having them deep cleaned. But then at some point, you get heavy traffic patterns, a lot of spills and spots, things like that, depending on the industry. You may have to do carpet hot water extraction. You spray a chemical down, work it into the carpet, and you hot water extract it out. There's even a fourth method, which is called restorative carpet cleaning, where you go in with a rotor machine, apply a cleaning chemical to the carpet, cleaning solution, work it in with a heavy-duty brush, scrub it all up, then extract it out.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but sometimes the client thinks that, oh, if you're just vacuuming the carpet, it should look clean all the time.
Oh, well, no, you can't.
We talk about this oftentimes. We live in Western New York, in the snow belt, and there's salt that goes down on carpets, and it gets tracked into buildings. And whether or not they had the right walk-off mat program or whatever, it walks into the buildings, and that salt water then crystallizes and creates white spots and white traffic patterns. Or off a freshly paved parking lot, people pick up all that petroleum product on the bottom of their shoes, and then they walk through a building. Or maybe they're a construction company and they have a lot of field workers, or utility companies, a lot of field workers that come in and walk on the carpets with the work boots that have been out putting in new telephone poles. So you have all this heavy dirt that's constantly being tracked in. At some point, vacuuming is not enough. The same thing with floors. You've got ceramic tile floors, you've got vinyl tile floors, you have LVT floors. There's all different maintenance that has to be done to each different type of surface, not just the daily sweeping, dust mopping, damp mopping. You have to go in and maybe you do have to do a top scrub. Maybe you do have to use a machine scrub and wet vac and rinse. Maybe you have to top coat a vinyl tile floor. Maybe you even have to go in and strip all of that stuff off and put down floor finish and strip and refinish phase. So depending on the needs, but mopping isn't going to necessarily fix a floor.
So Joe, let me ask you a question here. I know that both in the service side of the business and in the consultative side of the business, you have all this knowledge in your head and you use it on a regular basis. So you are well practiced.
Yes.
For our listeners, small cleaning companies, 1 person, 2 people, 10 people, the owner and or the salesperson, if they're not the same person, is interfacing with the customer.
Correct.
They're always focused on price until they realize that it's not as clean as they think it ought to be. Now, sometime, for what you've shared with me, that's just their perception. It's not clean because I think it's not clean, blah, 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 blah. There's a point where the floors or the surfaces are visibly dull. You want them clean as the cleaner. The customer wants them clean as the customer. How does our listener start approaching this so their customer gets it and buys without being a piss pot?
One thing I like to do with clients, whether a consulting client or even one of my custodial clients, is right from the start, Tell them that there's different types of cleans that need to be done, and some of them have to be spaced out over time because regular daily cleaning is never going to take care of everything about a carpet or a hard surface. So you kind of let them know ahead of time. Make sure you document it because most of the time they are not going to remember that you had that casual conversation with. Maybe on the initial quote to them, you include an impact clean. And if they reject it right there, that's already the first time they've been told about, hey, this needs to be done. And then shortly after you start, you may want to send them a follow-up email saying, hey, how is the startup going? Our perception is things are going well, but we have noticed that some of the things we pointed out on the walkthrough, such as the floors or the carpets, are still not up to snuff because they really need extra work done. Would you like me to price that out as a special project? And then depending on, their traffic or whatever, some of the stuff doesn't have to be done every single month or every other month. It can be spaced out. You can tell them, hey, let me try it once a year to start.
Sure.
And then we get a baseline. You see what it looks like now. You can see what it can look like. And we can revisit 4 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road and see, do you want it done again? By documenting it so that when someone comes back and says, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, and you tried to tell them, I warned you. One, you have that documentation and you can see the emails where they said, nope, not interested. And they see it in their own words. I was trying to help you from the beginning.
Right.
It's not, and I told you so, but it is, look, I've been trying to point this out to you. I'm trying to help you because you want to retain your tenants. So that's what's going on.
Joel, circling back to a comment you opened with, most cleaning contractors get the opportunity to bid because someone else blew the job. Now, not trying to throw the previous cleaning company under the bus. They may have done a good job. Maybe they got the same refusals. Maybe they dealt with the same attitude. If in fact they did, and you want to retain the business, then your job, dear listener, is to communicate better. And it's not doing the I told you so's. Nobody likes getting those.
No, and you don't want them to feel that way, but you also want to let them know that you've been pointing this out because you are looking out for them. Maybe early on you had the best price, but you didn't build that trust with them. And now they're kind of licking their own wounds saying, oh my God, they are kind of looking out for me. They might start listening once they realize that you've only been trying to point this out for the last year and a half.
Yeah. Dear listener, maybe you're looking for the right method to communicate this. Maybe you're looking for the right schedule to communicate this. Maybe you're looking for the right style to communicate this, because believe it or not, those are 3 separate things that can all work together. They are part of the communication process. They are part of the sales process, and that has to happen even with your existing customers. I just happen to know a guy who's a fantastic coach on this stuff. Hey, Joel!
Yes, sir.
You should call Joel. Not only will this go a long way toward building credibility with your current customers who are sometimes a little less than pleasant because they think the place isn't done right, when what you know is you need time and resources to get the big jobs done right because the big jobs matter.
They absolutely do.
Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.